I'm walking to the slums, and my heart is racing. I'm on this dry dirt path. There are pigs and goats up ahead. From the smell of things, they had come the same way that we had. I got my backpack on. It's got to be 100 degrees outside. And I don't know if that's why I'm sweating. Growing up in Westchester, I always liked helping people. And as I got older, I started looking at how I could turn that into a career. So I volunteered at a lot of different nonprofits, and I kept feeling like, as impossible as it is to measure need, there are more and bigger needs abroad. So I started looking into extreme poverty, which is when you're living on less than $1.90 a day. So you're waking up in the morning, and you're asking yourself, do I give my child clothing today or food? It turns out there's 767 million people living in extreme poverty. And I kind of felt like these are people who have probably given up, maybe are a little bit less competent, and I don't know how to save them. Definitely not 767 million of them. And so I pushed it out of my mind because it was almost too overwhelming not to. I went back to the nonprofits, but I kept coming back to that feeling. So finally I said, you know what? If I'm really going to consider saving people in extreme poverty as my career, I got to learn more about this. So I signed up to be a teacher in the slums in Mumbai, India. And I'm walking with my soon-to-be co-teachers, trying to prepare myself for this world of hopelessness that we signed up for. We walk into the slums, and the first thing you notice are the houses. And the houses go forever. And there's this mountain off in the distance, and there are houses going up the mountain. And they don't look like houses here. They're made of tin and cement and tile. And there's no spaces at all between the houses. They're stacked up next to each other like cubicles. And I'm taking all this in, and it's all of the hopelessness that I had imagined. So we start walking. And as we do, there's these teenagers that approach us and introduce themselves. And I'm looking at the conditions that they're living in, and I don't understand why they're smiling. We keep on walking, and as we turn, there are these men laughing in a storefront, and they don't seem sad either. So I stop walking. And I look around, but I stop focusing on the buildings and start looking at the people. And there are kids playing in the street, women hanging out in their doorways. I realize this isn't hopelessness at all. This is resilience. 4 weeks go by, and we pull into this rural village. Now, I haven't been to a rural village before. I haven't really been to rural before. And it's very green. There are these rolling hills with marshes that kind of blend into the landscape. And there are people in the marshes, water up to here, picking rice to eat. And just beyond the marshes, there are houses made of mud and straw. So we pile out of the van. And we're greeted by these very, very friendly-looking locals. And they introduce themselves as Kenneth and Toysa. And Kenneth says, I'm so excited to show you guys the school that we built here, together with the villages, thanks to your program's funding. So we follow Kenneth. And I'm walking with my friend Eliza, who is my co-teacher in the slums and also has 10 years experience teaching and developing curricula back in New York. And the two of us kind of fall to the back to where Toysa is. And we start talking about the school. And Toysa says, well, we want to make sure that we are tracking our classes by abilities, but we didn't want that to affect how the kids view themselves, so we named the classes Cars, Boats, and Planes. Oh, and we also know that kids hit their strides at different points, so we make reevaluations that happen every quarter, and they're done through games the kids don't even realize, and that allows us to cater our programming to all the children. Oh, and we redid our whole math curriculum so that it's based off the kids' lives here. So she goes ahead, and I'm looking at Eliza, and she says, Ari, we are in a rural village. The houses here are mud and straw. Do you know how much people in Manhattan paid for this curriculum? Now, the answer is no. But before I do respond, we get to the classrooms. We go in, the kids, super cute. We play some games. It's like a little bit awkward at first. They're a lot more reserved than our students are in the slums. But they get it eventually. It's a lot of fun. We start heading back to the van, and Eliza and I, we need to know how they did this. So we go up to Kenneth, and he laughs. He's like, look, Toysa and I, we don't have backgrounds in education. But your program offered to fund this, and this is a really big issue here, and it has been for a really long time. So we researched, saw what was coming out of the Harvard School of Education, and we built a school around it. Okay. Was probably a little bit off on that incompetent thing. Okay. So a week goes by. We're back in the slums. Classes could not be going better. We cover health, hydration, cultures around the world. The kids are sponges. Sponges. And I'm really excited about today, because today we're teaching about careers. So we sit down in our circle, and I tell the kids the story and the life of Marina Silva. Marina grew up on a rubber tapping plantation in northern Brazil, up in the Amazon. 10 brothers and sisters. She gets malaria 5 times. By 16, both her parents are dead. And then she gets hepatitis. So she goes to the city to get treatment. And while she's there, these nuns take her in and they teach her how to read and write. And suddenly Marina can go to high school. And she goes to college. And she gets involved in politics. By 36, she's the first person from a rubber tapping plantation elected to the Senate. 9 years later, she's the country's Minister of Energy, and she cuts deforestation in the Amazon by 60%. Finish the story. Finish the story. Look at my watch, and we got 10 minutes left before lunch. Now, I take lunch very seriously. And part of that's because I've always taken lunch very seriously. But I also know that for a lot of my kids, this is the only food they're getting today. So I tell the kids, close your eyes. Imagine yourselves being whoever and whatever you want to be when you grow up. And they do. And we start to share. Salim, in the black shirt, says, I want to be a doctor. Afriel in the pink next to him, I'm going to be a scientist. Then Sirpa, with the blue tie and vest dress thing, I'm going to be a pilot. And Tanzir, after this, we start calling him Tanzir Engineer. And I'm looking at these kids, and I realize they really can be doctors and scientists and engineers and Marina Silvas. And everything clicks. The resilience of the people in the slums, the resourcefulness and ingenuity of the people in the villages, the potential and dreams that these kids have, like we all have. I'd come to India so I can figure out how to save all of these people. For the first time, I realized, what if I'm asking the wrong question? Marina Silva, she didn't need anyone to save her. She needed to learn how to read. Kenneth, toys of the people in the villages, they didn't need anyone to save them. They needed funding for their school. These kids don't need anyone to save them. They need an education and food and a chance. What if what we really need to be doing is removing the barriers, providing the resources so these people can save themselves? Because too often we think of extreme poverty and we think they're incompetent, I don't know how to save them, and we push it away. But they're not incompetent. We don't need to save them. So we don't have to push it away. There are 767 million people living in extreme poverty. So many are just waiting to unlock their potential, so they can develop the next technology or discovery in science or cure. So whatever caring looks like for you, whether that's going to an event, sharing a video, donating, reading an article, you don't have to go to India. There's 767 million people waiting for us to care. Let's not push that away.